All right, let's jump right in. When you think about data analysis, that journey from a messy spreadsheet to a huge business decision, well, it can feel like a total mystery. So for this explainer, we're going to treat it like one. We're going to follow a data detective, solving a case not with a magnifying glass, but with data.
So here's the central mystery, right? How do you actually take a giant pile of raw, jumbled numbers and turn it into a clear, confident decision that actually makes an impact in the real world? That, right there, is the mission of every data analyst to find the solid answers hidden inside the facts.
Okay, so let's get into it. Every great analyst is, in a way, part detective. I mean, they don't just look at numbers, they interrogate them. They follow a very structured process, a clear set of steps to uncover the story that the data is trying to tell. It's a methodical hunt for the truth.
And this is their roadmap. The entire journey follows these 6 phases, starting with asking the right question all the way to actually acting on the answer. You can think of this as the playbook for our data detective, the thing that guides them from that initial problem to the final, impactful solution. Now, you might think the investigation starts with the data itself, but it doesn't. It always starts with a problem, and more importantly, with asking the right question. A sharp, really well-defined question is the key that unlocks this entire mystery. It's all about digging past the symptoms to find out what's really going on underneath.
And that's what this is all about, finding the root cause. This isn't just the obvious problem you see on the surface. It's the core issue that kicked off the whole chain reaction. A great analyst knows that if you only treat the symptom, well, the problem is just going to keep coming back.
So how in the world do you find that root cause? Well, a classic technique is called the 5 whys. You just keep asking why over and over and over until you drill down to the real issue. Take this simple example. You can't make a blueberry pie. Why? Well, because the blueberries are gone. Okay, why are they gone? The birds ate them. You follow that chain all the way down and you discover the real root cause was a late frost that damaged completely different bushes months ago. The real answer is often super surprising and not at all what you first thought.
Okay, so once our detective has a solid question, it's time to start gathering clues. This brings us to the next 2 phases, prepare and process. This is all about collecting the raw evidence, the data, and then getting it organized so it actually starts to make some sense. Raw data is a lot like dumping 1,000 puzzle pieces out on the floor. You can't see the picture yet. Not at all. The very first job is just to gather up all the pieces that belong to the same puzzle and get them organized. And this whole process of combining data from different places, it's called aggregation. Now, to organize all those puzzle pieces, analysts use a couple of key tools. Spreadsheets are fantastic. They're the go-to for organizing info and doing calculations. But when you're dealing with massive amounts of data from different databases, SQL becomes your best friend. It's basically a language that lets you pull exactly the information you need, and it does it automatically.
All right, let's move on to the analyze phase, which is where things get really interesting. With all the clues gathered and organized, the real detective work can begin. This is the search for patterns, for connections, for anything that stands out. This is where that aha moment happens, when the story in the data really starts to reveal itself.
But, and this is a big but, a good detective knows not to jump to conclusions. This brings up something absolutely critical, the difference between correlation and causation. So sure, a rainy season might correlate with more umbrella sales, but that doesn't mean umbrella sales cause rain. Just because 2 things are trending together, it does not mean one is causing the other. It's a classic trap analysts have to be super careful to avoid. And this quote by Stephen Few just perfectly captures the next step. Finding the pattern isn't enough. You have to be able to communicate it. Numbers have an important story to tell. They rely on you to give them a clear and convincing voice. It's so true. The numbers have a story, but they need a storyteller. Which leads us right into the share phase. The data detective now has to become a storyteller. They have to transform all those complex findings into a clear, compelling narrative. The whole goal is to present the insights in a way that anyone, especially the people making the decisions, can understand and then act on. Here's a great real-world example. A while back, Google analyzed data about its own managers. And by digging into the numbers, their analysts found a really clear story. Teams with the best managers were way happier and more productive. This simple but powerful visual told a story that the raw numbers just couldn't. It wasn't just data anymore. It was a clear call to action. And that, my friends, is the final piece of the puzzle, taking action. A brilliant analysis doesn't just end with a cool chart.
It inspires a decision. It solves the original problem and creates a real-world impact. This is the act phase, where our detectives' findings are actually used to change things for the better. Let's watch this whole journey come together with a real case study. So a small gaming repair shop had a problem. They needed more customers, but they had a tiny budget. Their data detective got to work. The analysis turned up a key clue. Their target audience are huge podcast fans. All of a sudden, they had a clear recommendation, a really cost-effective ad strategy. They acted on that insight, they made a short ad for some local podcasts, and the result? 85 new customers in the very first month. That's the whole journey right there, from a problem to a real measurable impact. So when you put it all together, you see that this process isn't just about crunching numbers. It's this powerful cycle that kicks off with curiosity, moves through a structured investigation, and always ends with a tangible, positive impact. The case is only truly closed when a real problem gets solved.
Which really just brings us to the final thought here. Data is literally everywhere, in our jobs, in our lives. So the real question for you to take away from all this is, what story is hidden inside your data, just waiting for a detective like you to come and uncover it?